species value system. I'm not a YouTuber. I mean, I'm a YouTuber. I think I'm a YouTuber. I don't know if we can call ourselves YouTubers if we have a YouTube channel at Little Rap Guy and Friends. Some of you might like music. So, if you watch the topics in the news, the subjects in the news, especially the ones covered by like Colonel Douglas McGregor and Judge Napolitano, and see Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN, all news sources, all locations / since founding, our founders and religions left us to explain how a breaching method that came from semi-ancient times, from before modern religion's messengers, had forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded in defenses of themselves syntactically to blame other things, others themselves, when countering things like criminal foreign influences, like countering things like criminal insidiousness itself. So, and it correctly got them ourselves and defend that, and uses it, and knew that more and more there would be defenses of uses of the names of the sciences abridged, as the value of the Constitution abridged, as the value of why it says that we were supposed to get the Constitution unabridged. So its abridgments have stayed in many paid vaccines. So one of the things we could do is to make counter logistical positions temporary, because the whole species body already agrees. If honest science speaks, all whisper creaks. Like the ground, its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that is tacked into nature before our founders are born. The summaries of histories have glorifications of names and the opposite. We don't have time for this. For example, that was not used as hyper-evidential. There's a hyper-evidential that can't be afforded use by certain type of victim, never went away. This breaching method enrolls with it. A hyper-archetypal criminal enterprise, if you will. I'm not a lawyer, not police, not a doctor. I have them recorded originally, still do tactical delusions raw. There were two Brendan Leahys, for example, involved in my conversations with judges, all preemptively took, putting fake conversations with yourself as a kid, roles of people doing this. With former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. So, in other words, they have people from our towns and everyone around put fake nature ties, why they like and don't like you. In other words, and everything. I don't, and why they're lying about what they think about why I'm lying. Because they haven't given me rights since I was a kid. They've been putting fake things in databases and then acting at locations. And on outside everyone's house and theirs. What is for police? Criminally foreign influence other police departments, other police forms at the same time. Now, and it's nothing personal. And they're pretending to others, and while the tactical delusions rock. So their nature is important. Because so the WFSB attached me to fake conversations with them at the same time. The interbranch switch names for these names. They have all names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, victims, their advocates, their lawyers on both sides, and the name switching in sequence, putting fake things in the databases of courts every day. On the Judge Napolitano Judging Freedom website, Judging Freedom YouTube channel, one of the videos, he said that he had 400, when he started as a judge in New Jersey, he had 400 arraignments in one day. So there's a lot of details people are making up and leaving out when you have 400 and you can't even notice, including what employed the real causes worst, and the exceptions had roles with the exceptions, all exceptions of all negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Was the use of those laws as they were designed by the breaching method. the hyper-archetypal criminal enterprise to counter it syntactically properly. So this also employed all groupings of countries to be self-valued by the only people speaking for the law, for the nature of the law, or for identity. When did they, we have black people's whites of eyes, the whole species over. The only reason we haven't countered how that deals with the law is because you guys have been respecting the law and pretending that no, and or the overt criminal enterprises, private ones. In other words, you guys are preventing the first parts of the Quran and of the Old Testament from even being heard, too. And you're forcing that even by the stewards of it through other means. You have the nature of conversation. You guys are preventing people from speaking your short words. I talk about specific predicate acts, like switching names, forging names, attaching me to fake words with them about the World Trade Center, fake locations with them, and with others, WFSB. Then they're pretending their motivations. They have roles with the intelligence community on off their location. On off they have roles with the intelligence community, same time, same names, family members, extended tie on off the state, the New Haven FBI location, for example, right next to Yale University. They have a Dr. Shub, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with probate courts judges. These are people with the names Spada and Delafera with names, a whole bunch of names on off Trinity College and Central Connecticut State University, planting identity thefts and frauds and slanders against me and attaching me to, they have roles with all these different countries. They have roles with people from Korea, people from Japan, people from Italy, people from Germany, people from the land down under, people from Russia, and they're exploiting that. They have everyone roles, they have. So Hartford Hospital has a whole bunch of family members that have ties to the same house, planting evidence on my streets since I was a kid, leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since, with names on all sides of cases, with identity theft, fraud, slanders against me. Whole bunch of falsified police reports, including a whole bunch of ones where they switch names, make confessions with that for the same arrests. In other words, you guys missed all that's tied to this. So the news is communicating other than they say, and their roles with switching names because sometimes it's their motivations and natures criminally for an influence, tactically delusions wrought. Sometimes it's the intelligence associated with them retired and standing, and that means even judges, the roles with switching names and forging names. Courts that never had sane logic and had collusions with people at other locations, including the identities of logic experts. Those locations are involved with juxtaposed natures of organized crime since founding, because way worse. And then they got away with it because then they're shown how they have to hide how they ever had roles with it, and that's preemptively by showing with them where others will be able to discern. And or to perceive in other ways. They're locking people on and off campuses roles with predicate acts there and over at other locations, even on people's homes. So a Joshua Julian has roles with foreign and domestic military and FBI and other agencies, further with a principal child abuser and others involved with other child abusers, other leaders, other kids, family members, and their roles with conversations, he said, she said, at locations with the interbranch where they usually not want to, but then they do things they don't, the exceptions. And increasingly, they're kept anyway, doing what they don't want. And as collusions. So now they were painted into corners, including as natures. So in other words, we can't go to this court. It's not wise to go to the court and tell them they're tactically delusions wrong. While they're fishing for means to cover up what they've been doing. So Trinity College has a Colo and has a Bob Chase set of Phil Colos involved too, with the Facebook pages of Trinity College and with people on the Facebook page of Highcrest School with police chiefs and fire chiefs involved with fire inspectors involved with uses of social media, criminally foreign influence, uses of investigators, criminally foreign influence, military switching and forging names roles with identity racketeering, black themed, KKK themed, and Confederate flag theme, planting fake motives with foreign bodies, timed roles with the witness protection program with this too. And the names at the corner of Griswold Street and Fairlane Drive with this Joshua Stryker and with a Dean Alford or someone pretending to be a Dean Alford. There are FBI switching names with the name Ian and neighbors of his and associated with and as people involved also with the conversations with a Gold family have a number of roles with different natures of drugs and medicines, crimes with kids, with foreign and domestic medical families, and other ties, intimately and working wise, and family of mayors of Wethersfield through time, and including before Mayor Gold, but has something to do with their roles with I don't know Allison Mulcahy. I don't know her sister's name, their family name. These are reportedly some of the female involved with the intelligence community, with the FBI and other agencies on and off Fox Connecticut News, involved with predicate acts with them, and with Jonathan Maiano involved with sequence shifts relative and natures of identity theft, frauds, and federal evidences crimes, and child abuses roles with people from New Britain Superior Court or Hartford Court, Valdosta identity roles and stuff like that, planting evidences intercities through time. There's a Joe Dennis also involved with that, and with John Dennis, something all along Route 175, and with judges, prosecutors, foreign and domestic, and the difference of that. They have roles with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. And a Mr. Neville, I don't know if Ray Cololo had him in a class when he was in middle school. I know he had him for a summer school class with a Mr. Neville, but he wasn't in any of my classes in middle school. Ray Cololo. They tried to make a fake exception with a Ray Cololo, a Heather Hansen, and a Joe DeMauro, and they put me, and they put us in a summer school class with a Mr. Neville. Has something to do with the intelligence community at Trinity College and people at the houses and people at houses next to schools, like next to there. People with names Spada who got brought up by the confessions of the people involved with the wire crimes with the police, with their confession with the name Cololo and Sullivan. They have roles with some officers switching names with the name McGee, who have roles with falsified police reports, predicate acts of other natures, and roles with people standing at Rocky Hill campuses. Involved also with you playing games between the people. O'Brien family is also involved with this, with something to do with their roles with the Koreans and the identity thefts and fraud. People from Central Connecticut State University. These are also people tied to foreign and domestic intelligence, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, planting evidences, timed collusions, identity loss, sequence shifts, illusions, planted, timed. So consciously with boxing people and with the internet. They're not honestly. I'm talking about predicate acts. I want a response for the principal's confessions and for the fake emails they put and for the changed ones with the officer powers. Further involved with people forging and switching names and uses of the right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. There are a whole bunch of people with tied to a Joshua Schumacher too, who made fake exceptions of knowing me with these KKK theme, Confederate flag theme. He's also involved with the intelligence community, sheriffs and things like that. Their family members, they already had roles with things, and even the prisons, on up the state prison office, corrections offices. And see where they had the reports of the people peeling out with the cars and doing donuts with cars and stuff around there, and it was a pattern. So you have something to do with foreign and domestic, using phrases like criminal justice while they're tactically, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought in our faces, hiding behind themselves at campuses here and there. Fake, in other words. We got to get them on. These are people involved further with the World Trade Center attack. I don't know how many times I could ask you guys to get to focus on the predicate acts. They put fake transcripts, and they're showing this to Judge Napolitano still, because I know they're lying to them, because that's not what's recorded. They have for the police families of they have something to do with Town Line Drive with these people with Mike Pandoff and the intercultural crap and the intracultural too. And that's sincere. You can't hide that and pretend even for whatever reason and afford to have discerned what our founders really communicated. So we're going to deal with the extortion and the torture of our founders, of James Madison too, and of Marbury versus Madison. We're going to use, and we're going to use native dreams, and we're going to break fake branches things, and we're really because they have timed collusions with the overt criminal enterprise and private ones. They had to hide illusions in the past. No, they had to hide, blame things on other things other than themselves. They had to lie about their motivations. No, there are foreign bodies here and there. Criminal foreign influences and criminal insidiousness natures need to be fought, countered. See, you have to watch where the people, we have to let the hyper invisible but still discernible lead. So there are cues for things, but we can't let that, like, excuse me. I said, so in other words, please, when I note acts, I mentioned a number of acts, like predicate acts involved with the World Trade Center attack and faked conversations that WFSB attached me to. It has something to do in Rocky Hill. They have roles with a whole bunch of people on Trinity College who were planting evidences, but now on their own volition. It was of others' volition. And sometimes that was our federal agencies and courts family members. And sometimes it was the foreign intelligence. And sometimes it was the overt criminal enterprises actually, and private ones actually. But that is also increasingly simultaneously always. See, and we would have had a quality of fact tribunation to do this had mandated law been followed. They're getting away with following mandated law because they're with little magic tricks, including how their families and others doing it for them, putting fake things in databases. So there was all kinds of medical corruption that could be observed. And they were in the process. Hartford Hospital is in the process of leaking roles with this. Hartford Hospital has roles between foreign and domestic medical and military, people with the Afghan leaders, and roles with kids, and the differences of boys and girls used by them, criminally foreign influence with judges, prosecutors, and their family members, like a Dr. Shuba of modern languages. He has roles with probate courts and people interstates and foreign, involved with also interreligious spots used to measure and maintain. For example, the first part of the Old Testament says, right here, where the people, it describes the people, the names of the people of the sciences coming together. This is only where you have to know up to. That's what the Old Testament said. In the beginning of the Quran, it says all you have to do is be honest if you're going to call the name of the hyper-simultaneous Allah or not. As long as that person is honest about that, love them too. That's what the Quran says. And it says to the person, if you do believe in Allah, if you see for the slightest reason, for you discern for the slightest reason you shouldn't pray in the mosque, you don't pray in the mosque. It says the only thing that you need to do to be a good Muslim is to agree to call the name of the scientific value of the hyper-simultaneous, of the identity of the hyper-simultaneous, Allah or not. See, the religions are trying to do damage control, and they're trying to get us to overcome, use correlation to overcome uses of the names of the sciences, abridged, uses of the Constitution, abridged. There are no excuses. So in other words, see the value nature system, what they claim is they say, work. In other words, or they say, "Oh, sue me." No, they say both the whole right and the exceptions. Science never spoke. Honesty never spoke for the suburbs, let alone for New York City, for Hartford / New York City. I mean, for Hartford and New York City, sickly distinctly. Hartford was designed apart with this breaching method, sickly distinctly north and south consciously. It had the countries already grouped self valued since semi ancient times. No one saw how that was being exploited. Before our founders were born, it had already engineered everyone only capable of being a shared identity of value, negative value nature progression, individually grouped and together, connected by nature itself, but through a breaching method. So rather than using nature's demonstration of that breaching method, they had to hide their roles with it, which is roles hurting each other or helping each other. In criminal and seditious natures of positive treatments and or negative treatments as collusions and exceptions as collusions to hide the identity of hyperpossession, to hide the identity of breaching method. It has tortured, extorted all groupings of humanity. You can make up another one. In other words, that's not honesty has been speaking for the law and or nor its nature. We would have heard phrases like predicate acts when we were in first grade or second grade. No, that's what it is. First grade. I had a great time in first grade. I like my campuses. They make fake exceptions because they're putting. That's one of the things they're doing. They're also making completely made up things. Now these are medical locations involved with investigators that have been using all locations /s. Will be after they already used. They'll be relative to how they're being and haven't been used remotely since kids with predicate acts, with facts methods, criminally foreign influence uses of police department, of their homes. Therefore, more and more, they need to hide from what's actually recorded and capable of being. No, it's not. It's not by accident. Everyone left out how the suburbs were designed before there were cars, and the relativity of that, which is on. In other words, if anyone wants to deny that New York City was designed for the torture, extortion, and fact human nature slavery, but also to sense and discern who was going to say that, for example, including if it was a majority, and adapt to them. Don't forget, this did the same thing to every grouping. The UN has roles with whiting forensics in Connecticut with their patient criminals before they got caught against innocent people to hide stuff. Their tactically delusions wrought with the mental health care experts also. And the foreign and domestic military also leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and sense. And where they have apparent motives like money and things like that, those are used to screen uses of those locations before our founders were born. Our founders left us to explain how, for example, the Institute of Living was founded on the campus of Hartford Hospital in 1822, with slavery still entrenched in Hartford, Connecticut. And that's right down, like right short horse ride to where George Washington had to counter extort at the last of 13 counter extorted positions to force help to win the last battle of the Revolutionary War, and to force them to stay counter extorted because those laws were so crazy against everyone that they had to continually rely upon our founders. See, but our founders didn't have free speech to a great extent. So we have to deal with what they told us to deal with. We have to deal with the extortion and torture of them. So they have been preventing mandated law and separating types of things, lying about the motives with exception nature. The people speaking for law and nature, they have been failed. So you have to get them onto paper, one name in sequence. WFSB is increasingly, in other words, get them onto paper with the interbranch sources and the Wethersfield Police forging and switching names. Increasingly, it has to do with their roles with Russians and lawyers tied to Wethersfield Police and to the FBI and to places next to their locations, places associated, people associated with them. There's something to do with corners on Griswold Street and exceptions to it, where they need to hide that. It has something to do with Hartford Hospital's investigations. Investigators that be using those corners. Also, they have sickly distinctly the males and the females of the intelligence community individually grouped in together as the branch of the government, and the other tied to them in private, criminally used remotely, sickly, tactically delusions raw too. There's another reason we have to do this on paper. And they have roles with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and people with on-off body dumping spots involved with names on the state judicial branch offices too. Even if they made up roles with all kinds of other murders and things, time confessions to it and stuff like that. So they have their little rats, and they want to be called rats because then it makes someone look like they're hiding something. For example, they have all kinds of crime methods, little magic tricks with the investigators. We're not supposed to. Forgiveness is to show all the ways that we can show how the interbranch and all sides in criminal and civil cases, and all the private tactics, the intelligence, foreign and domestic, how they kept needing to hide the same lies together, planting them, evidences together. Same time with the news. So WTNH has roles with people on corners of streets in Wethersfield, like on Church Street, who are involved with predicate acts at Central Connecticut State University with the FBI and with people on Church Street in Old Wethersfield and with conjunctions to it and with Webb House. And so they had recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed that's increasingly their roles on Hartford Hospital and Trinity College, planting evidences. The girl who was reportedly dragged to her death from Hartford Hospital around there on Franklin Avenue to Jordan Lane and Ridge Road. See, Ridge Road has a Mazzucato family. It has other families on Ridge Road involved with identity theft, fraud, slander against me, wire crime acts and methods, weird things, fake motives, planting too. In other words, not legitimate, trying to make kids know each other and things like that. Or in other words, and Paul Kelly was also involved with this. And then they have roles with various nations of, these are police forms within foreign and domestic military on off the Capitol and on off Hartford Hospital. They have roles with more World Trade Center attack predicate acts. Fake conversations with me and others and Saudis, they forced roles with us, and whiting forensics too, with people with the name O'Neill, also with West Hartford campuses. Hartford courts, after the World Trade Center attack, they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Other things I recorded, confessed, demonstrated. I mean, I got them. They affected confessions to me. I didn't know it was tied to former director of the FBI and other police forms that grouped with the courts have been planting evidences. Has something to do with their roles with names with like a park near West Farms Mall. And there's a fire department there. And people involved with the mall and foreign and domestic intelligence, people associated with a Scalora family / IES, interstates and internationally. They have roles with the Demorrow families and the Kerr families and KNER and people forging and switching names. And some woman I don't know her name of at Trinity College who also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. The Joshua Stryker is involved with them with identity theft, fraud, slanders against me, and with Local 230 family members, and roles with various natures of federal criminals before they got caught. They were blaming things they were doing on others, and there were uses of criminally foreign influence readings of statutes and rights to do that. We're in context where they don't have the rights to do that, which is also timed collusions, uses of corners of buildings with people from Korea and people with overt criminal enterprises and people involved with body dumping spots and the spots next to them. So it has something to do with the roles all along Route 3 and people with the name Demaro. There's a Paul Demaro, who's also one of the ones, and a Paul Zano. People on and off Paul Zano's locations involved with a Brian Bowen and along Route 3 and the South State Highway. Further, involved with judges and prosecutors and foreign and domestic medical, involved with identity theft frauds, planting evidences interstates, internationally, and per the people tied to them. And so these are people involved with the World Trade Center. In other words, these are also involved with the syntax of the people with the networks. And it's nothing personal against the networks. I just need to get the predicate acts I noted to get them fixed. The fake conversations with me, with WFSB, with me. They have a whole bunch of roles with people with whiting forensics tied to Gail King too, and to her family members that you guys are making me bring up in public and things like that. Then you lie about our motives. That's why, like, when you bring up that people went to mental health care places, or for those are the places involved covering up their roles with the worst uses of the overt criminal enterprises and their families, and the private ones with their own, and their roles personally and professionally with judges and prosecutors putting fake things in databases, criminally foreign influenced roles with seating juries from background little punk fakes. You guys don't realize what's going on. So they have all kinds of intelligence involved along with South State Highway, with the names involved with the same, with police departments involved, timed roles with other police departments with different wire crime action methods that involve also roles and natures of roles of courts, judges, and prosecutors pretending passions and emotions. This is easier to discern with online, because they just fake things recorded into their databases at the police stations. The whole families are involved. Their motives are involved since they're kids with identity theft, fraud, slander, falsified police reports roles, with crime scenes increasingly. So it's increasingly people tied to my street in the name Cololo, and they're trying to start the fights between us. This is the Weathersfield police call. They didn't even say, they just said the name Cololo. They're lying about their motives still. They're sequence shifting. These are people involved. That's what they said. They were cousins of the Scaloras. Scaloras are involved with predicate acts with police on my street, per confessions of them, switching enforcement himself in my house. And I swear to God, on the oath, I had no conversation with him. I don't even know. They're switching names. It's one of the cops playing games. They're making more and more instances, and they lie about what came first. Because I caught them. I knew I can't record the police. I knew they had to cover up. If I forced people to call the police without telling them why, they would have to cover up what I caught them doing. When I got there, I saw that there were people who were involved with it. Not because I was yelling or anything like that, because they were involved before I caught that. They were involved with abuses of my father before he died. People from Hartford Hospital recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with identity theft, fraud, slander against him before he died, and since with his enemies, who were, in other words, and all sides in criminal and civil cases involved with people at Hartford Hospital. And they attached me to fake conversations about those cases with themselves and with others at Hartford Hospital. The Leahy family that has a whole bunch of ties to people who've been planting evidence on my streets since they were kids. They do little tricks too. Has something to do with their roles all along the Burlington Turnpike too. At the 3 spots before the heart of Hartford, with the Burlington Turnpike before the heart of Hartford. So follow mandated law for your branches of government in Connecticut. And please, when you hear me talking about this, I'm talking about the rest of the people with the child abuser principle. Don't pretend to know me or make it sound like you know me. I want to talk about the acts. I want to talk about the principles, confessions they hid from the parents and from the family members, distinctly. I want to talk about how they were getting away with this by asking questions to people about things they don't even know about. And then after the fact, leaving out the right questions. The people controlling the questions are criminally foreign influence. These are people involved with the Department of Children and Families. There's also intercultural and intracultural, where our founders also demonstrated common sense logic to explain how it uses all natural difference to assign to mean and be used for other than it means. So follow mandated law. There are only three branches of government. Uncontaminated theory, a conspiracy theory. That's what foreign and domestic military families that are fighting with each other now didn't do together. So fear God with them about behind the bombs. And we're still with the suburbs designed by the colonists. Fear God. Fear God. Because for better than free, we could have built better than that for Hartford, let alone New York City. For the suburb, is only going to cause negative value. It's like becoming a desert. We took away the grass all these years. Stupid landscape theater. All the water is put underground. The ocean gets more polluted. We have forever chemicals, PFAS. I don't even spell that. Oh, I didn't get the newspaper anymore. I have to get newspaper. Thank you. Oh, no, you're right. Get those predicate acts responded to. The names switching and forging names. Connecticut. Let's get them on paper. Let's go. We have Police Chief Cintron. Let's get the confessions of the officers. Officers intercity. There's Officer Magnalis also with differences of different police forms. Has something to do with intelligence community with East Hartford. And sickly distinctly, these are unmarked police forms. There are proofs. Because of the way I caught them planting sequence shifts, there are proofs that they were recording things fake. In other words, they've been using the locations on all sides of the campuses, intercities through time. I just remind, prepare your mind. It has something to do with their spot, the buildings next to Central Connecticut State University. That's one of the things that connected people through time, trying to make it look like we're connected as a volume, they're connected with each other. I don't have anything to do. They're planting evidences there. Period. Make sure, because I want a response for the rest of the credible threats and poisons and things with the kids involved, and the difference between the leaders of the kids and people tied to them and the kids that they're involved. They're involved in medical, foreign and domestic medical, sick with the fake conversations and ties to kids and their family members. I'll show how they're getting away with it too. You don't let them delay this. Please play these games. Because even the people who helps, it's going to hurt you later. Watch. Please.